What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to be watching for as time goes on, what's going on with the economic calendar, and why tomorrow is going to be another very important day. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. This offer ends in just 6 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So when it comes to the market thus far, SPY is currently up 0.3%, holding up quite decently. But the question is, how on earth did CPI affect it? How is CPI affecting the markets? And what's going on with tomorrow? So for CPI, okay, in my video from yesterday, I was thinking that CPI would be very close to expectations, if not a little bit lower. I was hoping for a 3% CPI. We ended up getting 3.1%. So it wasn't actually lower than expected, but it was as expected instead. So with an as expected CPI, SPY is continuing to pump into the 463s. The QQQ is ripping as well as we're seeing Aapl pump. Nvidia is pumping a little bit, it's not that strong though. But the QQQ made a very nice move to the upside. We're currently testing 398. We're very close to that resistance. It's pushing up very, very nicely. So we did get a nice push with just CPI being as expected. So imagine if CPI was below expectations. Imagine if we got like a 3% CPI, a 2.9%, the market would have ripped a lot more, but we're still getting a decent sized squeeze, a decent sized move. So this did end up playing out, which is a pretty decent sign. However, I do want to warn you all that tomorrow is going to be an even bigger day, or just as big of a day technically, because we have the PPI report coming out. We have PPI and core PPI year over year and month over month coming out. This is going to be coming out an hour before the market opens. That's going to be important. And then on top of that, I just want to mention that at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Fed interest rate hike decision. And then at 2:30 p.m., we have the press conference when we're going to be listening to what Jerome Powell has to say. So we have FOMC tomorrow. We have Jerome Powell's speech. Make sure you guys are ready for that. It's going to be a little bit into market open, though, a couple of hours after market open. So it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take some time before we get there. So don't forget, we have PPI in the morning and then Jerome Powell's speech in the FOMC meeting tomorrow in the afternoon. So now let's talk about the market. How are things looking so far on SPY and these different tickers? Let me just mention that on SPY, on the 30 minutes time frame of a bullish crossover on the PPO, the direction has been up thus far. And on the 4-hour time frame, we have a bullish crossover that is still once again maintaining this position, and we're slowly getting very close to this resistance way up here. So basically, I'm going to be watching 436.5 on SPY. We break that there's 430. I'm sorry, did I say 436? Sorry, guys. 463.5. I don't know what I just said. 463.5. Watch that as resistance. Once we break that, then you're going to be watching for 464. And then if we break above that, our next target is going to be 465 flat. So far we're showing some life. SPY's holding up nicely. We also had this trend line acting as our support. You can also draw this out as a range. So you can even like come over here and just redraw this just like this. But if you do it like this, right, you can see that we also have this resistance to be watching for, which happens to align very close to this like 465 area. Not bad so far. SPY is holding up, and as of right now, the bulls are in control. Again, the bulls are pushing the market up. I was anticipating that this would happen, and that's what's going on for most of the market. When it comes to the QQQ, if you look at the direction, it's also looking bullish. Let's just pull up the chart right here on Webull. You will notice that the 4-hour is looking quite strong. We're continuing to push up, and we look very bullish on the 4-hour time frame as we're approaching that resistance at 398. So with 398 coming, if we break above this, we're going to be looking for a push up for 400. We're getting very close to 400. I think the QQQ wants it. Now, just as a reminder, okay, I was talking about how we might come down to test this yellow trend line, and we'll see if it bounces or not. And we ended up getting a bounce off the yellow trend line right over here, which was our support. So we got a nice bounce. We're holding up quite decently. And with that being said, this is still uptrending very, very nicely. So with 400 pending, I think that the QQQ has more potential that's loading. Watch for 398 as resistance. And if that breaks, we have 400. And with that being said, it's looking quite strong so far. Now, anyways, with the QQQ pushing like this, there's no sign of it stopping. Watch for 398, and then there's going to be resistance right there, which is where we got our previous rejection. And then at 400 seems very imminent in the future, at least for this chart. Now, don't forget that Jerome Powell gives a speech tomorrow. If we don't reach 400 by then, we could see him, cause some more volatility. So we'll just have to wait and see. But so far, the market's holding up, and there's no sign of a stopping just yet at the time I am recording this. So watch resistance, see how it goes. For Nvidia, make sure you watch support at 472-ish, around that area. And then below that, we have 468. Then we have 464.5 to 465 and 462. In the morning, I was a little worried that we could see Nvidia kind of like break below this trend line. We did actually break below it, but we bounced right back above it. I told you that if we're bullish, you want to see it hold the trend line and bounce. If we're bearish, you want to see it break below this and start sinking down to like 455. And we ended up getting a nice bounce, and we made our way back up to this resistance, very close to this 474 zone. So that's a very, very good sign for Nvidia. It's trying to hold this resistance, and I think that's the FOMC day tomorrow will determine the direction for the future. We still have this imbalance up here at this 480 area. It is possible Nvidia will eventually get there, but we first have to break these highs right here. We have to try to get above these highs at 478 to make our way up to like 480 to 482. So far, Nvidia is holding up, but watch resistance at 474.5. As of right now, it's holding up quite decently. On Apple stock, I was talking about how this thing may remain range bound for most of the day, but we were range bound before we got a breakout, and now we're approaching this resistance at 194.4. Don't forget that Apple also has this unfilled gap around 195.7, so we'll see if Apple could break this or not. But with that being said, I think it's very important to look at this double bottom and see if Apple continues even higher. I would say that I'd be watching this resistance right here, which is from this like breakout zone. This is where this wick happened to be. Can we break 194.4? If we break this, watch for 195. 195 is going to be a key level. If you reject right here, watch 193.5 as support. And then below that, we have like 193. As of right now, it's holding up nicely. Nice double bottom, nice pump that's coming. It looks bullish, and I think that this imbalance could eventually fill. We could get very close to 195 by tomorrow. But like I said before, we have FOMC, so just be a little bit careful with that. And then finally, for Tesla stock, Tesla's looking a little bit weak. We had some bad news that came out again on Tesla. We're just continuing to get hit with the bad news. And it looks like it's finally starting to break down a bit here. We can actually draw a support trend line from this area here. So I can actually extend this just a little bit. But this is going to be our next support zone to be watching for. And we have this next resistance from this downwards channel. So we can draw it out just like this. With that being said on Tesla, I just want to mention that Tesla's looking a little bit weaker right now relative to the market. It's starting to reject off this 236 area. And the reason behind this is because we're starting to get more and more bad news. The Chinese registrations have once again fallen. They've declined 10% last week, unfortunately. The news came out. They totaled about 15,400, down 12.5% from the prior week as well. And that's once again not the best of news because we keep hearing about how Tesla wants to deliver 1.8 million vehicles. And I do believe it's possible Tesla could achieve that, but with demand slowing down, I don't know for sure if Tesla will reach that number. I'm optimistic. I hope Tesla reaches that delivery count, but we'll have to wait and see. There is this news. There's also some news about the unions. There was also some bearish news from yesterday from Bernstein saying that Tesla has 38%, a 38% potential drop coming. They talked about that. I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm just saying that's what the article was saying. And then Tesla also had to provide more incentives to bring demand up. So that is similar to like a price cut. It's not exactly the same, and that's why Tesla was kind of bearish. Right now, watch this 237 zone to 236.8 as resistance. Above that, we have 238, then we have 240 as our resistance. We also have this channel now acting as our downtrend. For support, you're going to be watching this 234 area. Then we have 233. If we lose 233, our next level is going to be 230. As of right now, it's looking a little bit weak. It is trying to bounce with the market, but Tesla's trying to downtrend a bit. We could make our way back up here tomorrow to try to retest this like upper trend line before coming back down lower. Unfortunately, although Tesla could have bounced quite nicely, guys, I was hoping Tesla would bounce. It's starting to fail because of the fact that we have so much bad news coming out. And one could argue we have like a head and shoulders like structure now, which could lead to a little bit more downside. Unfortunately, although Tesla was holding up in the past, it was holding this yellow trend line nicely, trying to push. It's starting to break down a bit. and it's just because of external pieces of news. So with that being said, guys, make sure you watch the levels I called out. Watch the markets very carefully. SPY is making a nice move still. It's still pushing as I speak. The QQQ is actually testing 398 flat now. Market's looking pretty strong so far. Some stocks are kind of like anomalies right now, like Tesla, but for the most part, the market's holding up. So we'll be watching these levels very, very carefully. All right, guys, hopefully this video was helpful. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon for the next video of the day. Thank you, and peace out.